multi-car collision just south of McNeil Bridge on I-35 on Friday, January 19th.
Seeing the video again, it was like almost going through it all over again, and seeing it from a different perspective, seeing how close I was to getting hit.
Stephanie Hobbs says she was on her way back from the gym and was in the black car that was able to pull over.
I was really lucky that I didn't get hit.
Video captured on Carlos Sanchez's Tesla shows what happened during a multi-car pileup in Round Rock.
The event happened so fast, it's chaos.
This was on January 19th, just south of McNeil Bridge on I-35. Watch the white Mazda.
When I switched lanes to merge to the interstate, he came up like really close on the video I saw. And then as I'm going on the merge lane, he got on the interstate, lane 1, and then tried to side swap me.
The car keeps weaving through traffic, almost hitting the back of an 18-wheeler.
He was just really moving fast on the shoulder to pass several people, and just switching lanes.
Then the Mazda speeds up to get in front of the Tesla and abruptly stops in the left lane before taking off again.
There was no reason for him to stop because the lane was clear, that left lane. He intentionally did that for whatever reason.
The Tesla avoids crashing into it, but a van pushes another car into the Tesla, and multiple cars behind it collide.
Carlos was driving his Tesla Model 3 home from work on what had been a normal day in Austin, Texas. As he drove down the I-35 on-ramp, he thought nothing of it when he merged in front of a white Mazda. Evidently, the Mazda driver was highly offended by Carlos's merge, kicking off some of the most reckless road rage we've ever seen on this channel. The temper tantrum you're about to see would end up causing a massive highway crash involving 7 vehicles. But you'll be shocked to find out what the police did after the dust had finally settled. As Carlos approached the end of the on-ramp, the white Mazda was closely tailgating his Tesla before the driver crossed a solid line and started driving on the shoulder. After spraying rocks and dirt everywhere, the Mazda driver merged onto the interstate before accelerating in an attempt to get ahead of Carlos before he had a chance to legally enter the highway. The Mazda driver's first attack was an attempt to push Carlos's Tesla out of his lane, invading so far that Carlos had to swerve to avoid being sideswiped. Up to this point, Carlos had no idea that he'd been engaged in vehicular combat, but this move from the Mazda driver was his first indicator that something was very wrong. Carlos kept his cool and continued merging to the left while the Mazda driver took to the rightmost lane in a bid to pass Carlos. Sadly for him, that lane was actually an exit lane filled with slower moving traffic, and the Mazda ended up getting stuck behind Carlos again. Once he saw his opportunity, the Mazda driver floored the gas pedal and cut across the entire highway to get in front of Carlos in the passing lane. The Mazda driver then brake-checked Carlos to the point that Carlos had to come to a complete stop, all during rush hour in the passing lane of an interstate highway. I bet you can guess what happened next. Traffic behind Carlos wasn't able to stop, and a chain reaction of mayhem began to unfold behind him. A total of 6 vehicles behind Carlos collided with each other before his Tesla was rear-ended by a Toyota. Predictably, the Mazda driver chose not to stick around. Thinking quickly, Carlos punched the juice pedal to pursue the Mazda. But as the other driver dove across traffic to reach an exit, Carlos remembered his Tesla cam would have all the evidence he needed, and he pulled over. Police arrived quickly and closed I-35 down for over an hour. When Carlos showed them his Tesla cam footage, which he assumed would be the critical evidence they needed to hold the Mazda driver responsible, they told him they probably wouldn't go after the other driver. Carlos asked, "How is it possible for a person to get off untouched after causing such mayhem?" Their response was that since the Mazda hadn't been involved in the actual collision, they likely wouldn't pursue the driver at all. If you thought that story was crazy,